Hey y'all, it's Dana Shay with Real Relationship Talk, and you made it to video 3. Now, if you're like, video 3, what is she talking about? You've been missing out. So I'm doing 5 enemies of every marriage and relationship that you need to know. So if you don't know what video 1 and number 2 were about, go back to wherever you found this video and watch those. For those of you all who have watched 1, 2, here we are on 3. So today, guys, I'm going real, okay? I try to be real in all of my videos, but today we're talking about a subject that I just can't stay in the shallow end about. We just got to go deep. So today we're going to talk about unforgiveness. No matter what kind of relationship you're in, at some point or another, you are going to have to walk in forgiveness. There are going to be conflicts in your relationship. That's just the nature of the beast. That's just the nature of every human relationship. You can have small conflicts or you can have really big ones. And so today I'm going to talk about some really big conflicts. I'm going to be talking about infidelity. I'm going to be talking about abuse. Okay. And so I just want to preface this video with I do not take for granted what your story is. I do not take for granted the pain that many of you have gone through. I myself have gone through quite a bit of pain in my life. And I am super encouraged because I'm on the other side of that pain. And I honestly can tell you, as somebody sitting here, that it does not have to always be the way that you think it is. You do not have to walk in unforgiveness. You do not have to walk in fear. You do not have to walk in shame. And that, my friends, is the reason, the only reason that I am doing these videos, is so that you can be set free and so that you can thrive in your relationships, especially in your marriage. So I'm a very black and white person, meaning I love justice. You know, every movie that I see, the bad guy must die at the end of it. If he doesn't die, that was not a good movie, because I need to see some justice happen. So, there's a scripture that says, vengeance is mine. Well, that used to be like one of my favorite scriptures because I would leave out the other part. The real verse says, vengeance is mine, says the Lord. But I'd be like, vengeance is mine. Okay, so don't cross me. But I would definitely consider myself to be someone who is very justice oriented, very black and white. There's not a lot of gray. It's either right or wrong. And if you mess up, then you need to get that right. I don't believe in things just kind of lingering. So even with my kids, when they wrong each other, they have to ask for forgiveness. And then the other person has to say, I forgive you. I think that's super important. But there are some reasons why we feel like we can't forgive. First of all, usually the people that we feel like we can't forgive are the people that are closest to us. They are the ones that the wound cuts the deepest because we don't expect them to hurt us in the ways that they have. And so when they do, there's something about that hurt that we just can't deal with. And so what we do as a self-preservation method is we say, I'm not going to forgive them. Now, this can look different for different people. We talked about on the last video about being apathetic and being like, I'm good. You didn't hurt me. I'm fine. That is sometimes what unforgiveness looks like. Sometimes unforgiveness does manifest in anger. Sometimes unforgiveness can manifest in you just being cut off to everybody. You're like, I don't like none of y'all. I don't want to have anything to do with none of y'all. Okay? Unforgiveness can look like that. So one of the reasons that we don't forgive or that we feel like we can't forgive is just because the wound is so deep, because someone that we love hurt us really bad. Another reason that we feel like we can't forgive is because forgiveness can seem like the ultimate betrayal of yourself. It goes back to that whole self-preservation issue where when we've been wrong, we feel like we have to stand up for ourselves. We have to make sure that we get justice for ourselves. And if we don't forgive this person, then we're standing up for ourselves. To forgive them would mean to accept defeat and accept what they did was right. And actually, that's not true. When you forgive someone, you're not saying that what they did was right. You're just simply releasing them of the debt that they owe you for what they did. I've talked about on other videos how I used to struggle with anger. And anger for me was a cover up. Usually it always is. Anger is usually always a secondary emotion. So staying angry is almost like having a wound on your arm or somewhere and continually picking off the scab because you think if the wound stays open, you won't get a scar. Think about that. This is what unforgiveness looks like. You're constantly picking at it. You're constantly bringing up the past. You're constantly digging into it because you think that if I let this thing stay open and fester, I'm not going to get a scar. Well, you might not get a scar, but you are going to get an infection. What's worse, a scar or an infection? I think you know the answer to that. So forgiveness isn't about foregoing justice. Not at all. Forgiveness is actually getting back on your feet and deciding that the rest of your life does not have to be contingent upon the thing that happened to you. It's actually one of the best, most victorious things that you can do. When you choose to walk in forgiveness, you choose to walk from being a victim to being a victorious one. You do not have to allow the things that people have done to you, whether it's a spouse, a parent, a child, a boss, or whoever, you do not have to allow those things to continue to define your future. So unforgiveness is really detrimental to any relationship because there's no way that you can move forward in your relationship if you're constantly holding on to something that happened in the past. So you might be saying, well, Dana, that's easier said than done. How do I forgive someone who has hurt me? You don't know what I've been through. You don't know how bad they hurt me. And you're right, I don't know. But I do know that you are capable of forgiving even the most serious infractions. So let's talk about how you're actually going to do that. Number one, first you need to realize that we are all sinners. We're just all messed up. We're just all trying to do, I believe, the best that we can do. And sometimes people hurt you. And sometimes they don't mean it. And sometimes they do, because there are bad people in the world. And there are times where people don't care about you, they don't love you, they want to hurt you. But even those people, they're hurting. You know, there's a saying that says hurting people hurt people. And so if you can frame it in that way, that in order for somebody to truly hurt you the way that they have, surely they must be hurting too. And again, this is not an excuse. This is not absolving them of their responsibility. It's just helping you to understand why this could happen to you. It's going to help you to forgive them. The second thing that you need to understand is that forgiveness is a choice. Forgiveness is you simply deciding that you're going to let go. However, forgiveness is not only a choice, forgiveness is a process. Let's go deeper. So I don't know if I've ever actually explicitly said this on a video, but here it is. So Sean and I both cheated on each other. Okay. When we were married, we got married at 18. I was 18, he was 21. And when I was 19, I had an affair. And it was something that I never thought I was capable of, something that I never thought I would ever do. That's just not how I roll. I'm super loyal. And so when that happened, I was devastated, depressed. I mean, the whole nine, because I couldn't believe that I had stooped so low. Well, while I was doing my thing, Sean was out there doing his dirt too. And so I didn't find out about his stuff until much later. I had already kind of gone through my issues and asked for forgiveness and all of that. And then his stuff starts to be uncovered. And I remember when I first started going through the whole cycle of cheating, because his was not a one-time thing. We went through this whole crazy cycle. So when you hear me on videos saying we went through a crazy time in our marriage, this is what I'm talking about. So I remember going through that, and I remember just thinking there is no possible way that I can ever forgive this dude, okay? And I remember learning through counseling, and I actually went through a special support group for women who had been cheated on. I learned that forgiveness is a process. And so what that looks like is this. It looked like me waking up in the morning and saying these words out loud. I choose to forgive him. I choose to forgive him. And then when my imagination wanted to start wandering and I wanted to get angry, I had to say, I choose to forgive him. I had to not dwell on the thoughts. I had to not allow my imagination to run wild. I had to not allow my anger to get the best of me. And I had to keep telling myself, I choose to forgive him. I choose to forgive him. And this went on for months and months and months until literally one day I thought about something that had happened. And even though I had the memory of it, there was no sting left. Now, along with that, and this is going to sound like I'm contradicting myself, but stay with me. You have to give in to your feelings. You have to accept what happened. Don't excuse it. Don't excuse the other person. Don't diminish what happened. Whatever happened, happened, and you can't go back and make it unhappen. It happened. Give into your feelings. Allow yourself to grieve. Grieving pain is one of the healthiest things that you can do. That's why it's so terrible when someone dies or someone gets divorced or someone goes through infidelity, when good-meaning friends come around and they say, don't cry, it's going to be all right. No, don't do that. Allow yourself to grieve. Do what you need to do so that you can grieve. Now, don't hurt anybody, don't go crazy, and don't stay in that place. But you simply saying, oh, it's mind over matter, I'm choosing not to get upset. Okay, you go ahead and do that, and you let me know how that's going to work out for you. Because you're a human being, and you need to allow yourself the process of grieving. Grieving is so healthy for you. Now, if you have a trusted friend or a counselor who can help walk you through that to keep you from killing somebody, that would be advisable. That would be advisable. I have had to sometimes call my good girlfriend and say, I'm going to need you to come get me because I need to get out of this house right now because I don't trust myself around this dude. If you need to do that, that's what you need to do. But allow yourself to grieve. Along with allowing yourself to grieve, allow yourself to feel the pain. Now, this is something that us Americans, we don't like pain. I mean, at the first sign of a headache, we're popping the Tylenol. At the first sign of anything uncomfortable, we've got a medication for that. We are going to medicate ourselves to death. And that's the same thing that happens in relationships. When we go through painful things in relationships, we just want to medicate it. And we medicate all kinds of ways. That's a whole nother video of how we medicate in relationships. But you have to resist the urge to do that. Feel the pain. Think about what happened. Sit there with that pain for a minute. Accept that it happened. And then you'll be able to grieve over it. Also, you're going to have to let go of your expectations of the other person. This is so hard. I'm the kind of person where if I offend you, I'm going to apologize. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Not everybody is wired that way, though. Some people do not ask for forgiveness. Some people feel like, you know what, we all mess up, so deal with it. And so if you're having these expectations of your partner, your spouse, your parent, whoever, coming back to you and saying to you, what I did was wrong, would you please forgive me? Well, honey, that might not ever happen. And so you're going to have to let go of those expectations. Should they? Absolutely. But will they? I don't know. But you can't let your freedom hang on the balance of what somebody else is going to do. You have to let go of the fact that this person will ever apologize or acknowledge what they've done. I think of women, we're in the Me Too movement, right? And so I think of women who have been raped or sexually assaulted by men, and these men do not acknowledge what they did. And I just want to tell these women, let that go. It doesn't mean I want you to let go of the pain and act like it didn't happen, but don't sit around waiting for somebody to apologize to you because they might not ever do it. Let go of those expectations. And then finally, and this is probably the most important one out of all of these, is you have to pray. I honestly believe I could not forgive the way that I've been able to forgive in my own strength. There's no way. There's no possible way. I already told you that I'm a justice-oriented person, but the pain has also run very deep. I've got some deep cuts, and there's no possible way that I would ever have been able to walk in forgiveness without the help of the Lord. And so I don't know what your religious beliefs are. Maybe you're a born-again Christian, you're watching me, and you're like, yes, Dana, preach it. And maybe you're like, yeah, I got her up until that point because I don't pray. Wherever you are, I'm telling you what has worked for me. For me, it's prayer. It has been sitting with God in my ugliest moments, the snot, ugly cry, all of it, pouring my heart out to Him, asking Him to help me to forgive because I had no strength to do it on my own. And that is what helped me to get over all of this. Now, forgiveness and reconciliation are two totally different things. Everybody is called to walk in forgiveness, but everybody is not called to walk in reconciliation. There might be some of you who you might need to choose not to be reconciled to someone. If someone isn't safe, if someone is abusive, if someone has addictions that are harming you or your children, then you might need to step away from that relationship. So you're not always called to reconcile, but you are always called to forgive. So, the last thing I want to leave you with is understanding that forgiveness is not about giving up your power. Forgiveness is you having the courage to take it back. Holding on to unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. What some people don't realize is that when you hold on to unforgiveness, you're really just hurting yourself. So I pray that you find the courage, that you find the strength, and I've given you some tools that you can use to walk in forgiveness so that your relationships can be everything that they are purposed to be. I hope you have enjoyed this video today. Be sure to come back tomorrow. We're going even deeper and we're talking about fear. Oh my God. Fear has had its grips on my life and on the lives of so many other people, especially when it comes to relationships. So we really need to dig in deep into this next one. So you know what I'm going to say. Be sure you're following me wherever you found this video, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, wherever. And also be sure that you are following my blog at realrelationshiptalk.com. Thanks so much for watching. My heart goes out to you. I know that you have it within you to walk in wholeness and freedom, and you're going to do that through walking in forgiveness. Take care, and I'll see you on the next video.